Hi, good morning. Welcome to our webinar. We're glad to have you here with us today. My name is Noelle Cloward. I'm a counselor here at Genesis, and we also have Victoria here to join us. Victoria, if you want to introduce yourself real quick, that'd be perfect.
Sure. I'm Victoria O'Connor, also a counselor here at Genesis.
Thank you. So yeah, again, welcome. Glad to have you all joining us this morning. We're just going to go through a little bit of housekeeping here at the beginning. So again, just a reminder that this presentation is for educational purposes, and please consider your own situation and safety concerns before putting into practice any of the ideas talked about today. Just a couple of things with safety. So we just want you to be sure that you are watching this webinar in a safe place where only safe people can hear it. Please use headphones so that can help ensure that no one else can hear what you're watching, especially if you're maybe somewhere where someone might walk past or might hear you on accident. And then also, please remember to clear your browser history after watching this video if there's somebody that is monitoring your phone or computer. And then if you do need to leave the live Zoom webinar quickly, just remember you'll need to click end a couple times on that right side of the screen to be able to close out of the Zoom page. And then confidentiality. So please do not use the chat feature on Zoom. If you use that chat feature, your name and that comment will be seen by anyone watching the live video and the video recording on YouTube. And then also if you leave any comments on the YouTube video recording, your name and that comment will be seen by everybody else that watches the video. So just in general, please no comments just for your confidentiality. And then Genesis webinar questions. So again, we don't monitor or respond to any comments or questions left on the YouTube video recording. So please contact us directly if you need help. If you have questions about this specific webinar, you can contact us. Victoria's information is there at the top. You can either reach her by phone or by email. And then my number and my email are listed at the bottom, and we'll show this information again at the end. So if you don't have a chance to jot it down now, you can write it down at the end. And then Genesis webinar crisis and support. So if you are in crisis, need help with emergency safety planning, or are looking for emergency shelter due to domestic violence, please call our 24-hour hotline. That number is 214-946-4357. And then if you would like to sign up for counseling at Genesis, or you want to talk to a counselor about your situation, please call 214-389-7700. And additionally, we want to give you the numbers for some hotlines that you can reach out to if you're needing that support. So again, here is our hotline number for Genesis Women's Shelter. That's 214-946-4357. You can also contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That's 800-799-7233. Or you can use the chat feature at hotline.org if calling on the phone wouldn't be a safe option. And then the National Suicide Hotline number is also listed there as well, and that one is 800-273-8255. So today in our webinar, we are going to be covering the benefits of deep breathing. So if you have been attending any of these webinars this past summer, or maybe have attended a coping group here at Genesis, you might have heard us talk about deep breathing. We talk about it often, and you may have experienced or kind of been, maybe you've wondered, what is really the purpose of this? Or maybe it seems like such a simple thing to you, right? Like we all breathe. What's the purpose really of deep breathing? And so today we're going to get into a little bit of understanding what it is about deep breathing that benefits our body and why it's helpful for our bodies. And as we begin right now, I just invite you to, like this picture here on the slide, to take a deep breath in right now and then let that out. And just kind of notice how that felt, if that felt any different from maybe how you were breathing before, and keep that in mind as we're going through this presentation today. And we'll be ending with a deep breathing exercise, so you'll also get a chance to practice what we're talking about. So to understand the benefits of deep breathing, it's important to understand a little bit about our bodies, right? Our bodies are amazing, and we have all of these different systems that work together in our bodies and are designed to help us be safe and do all the things that we do in the day. So one really important part of our body is the nervous system. So what the nervous system is those main systems of our body. So the central nervous system, which is one of the two parts of it, is made up of our brain and our spinal cord. You can kind of see that in this picture. It's a little cut off, but on the right side. And then we also have the other part of the nervous system, which is our peripheral nervous system. So that is all of those nerves that are branching out from the brain and the spinal cord. We all have these systems. They are doing a lot of work without us having to think about it. We don't have to remind ourselves, right, to keep breathing. We just breathe. We don't have to remind our hearts to beat. It just beats. And within the peripheral nervous system, which is going to be the system we're going to focus on learning just a little bit more about today, you can see from the drop-down chart that it also has separate parts within that system. So we're going to be talking about those two parts of the autonomic system. So the sympathetic nervous system and then the parasympathetic nervous system. We'll get into that in this next slide. So the peripheral nervous system, kind of like I just said, right, it has these two parts. So that sympathetic system is what we can call the stress response part. So that is the system in our body that is reacting to stress. And then we also have the parasympathetic system, which we can call the relaxation response. And these two systems, they work together to regulate a lot of the functions of our body, which include, right, our heart beating, our breathing, all these basic functions that take place. You can see on this image here on the left, it talks about how the peripheral nervous system also connects our central nervous system, so our brain and our spine, to all of our organs, our limbs, our skin. It allows the brain and the spinal cord to receive and send information to other parts of our bodies, and also carries the sensory and motor information to and from that central nervous system. And then it regulates those body functions that we talked about already. So you can see how it kind of connects like every part of us, right? And so, when we're talking today and we're talking about how this relates, right, to having experienced trauma, which can include domestic violence and abuse, we're talking about a system that relates to everything. And when we've experienced trauma, that also affects all the parts of our body. So we're going to continue to talk about that today. Just a little bit more going into these two systems, because it's really important to understand them, is that with that sympathetic nervous system, that is creating that stress response in our body. So that is what, it says here. This is an image, right, kind of geared towards kids, but I think it explains it really well. But it talks about how that kind of revs you up. It's preparing you to fight, flight, or freeze. And with that, how our bodies are reacting to fit that response is that our heart starts beating faster, our breathing becomes fast and shallow, the pupils of our eyes expand, our gut often becomes inactive because, right, we're not needing that in those moments of fight, flight, or freeze. Our blood is rushing away from our brain, which, as it points out here, it can make it hard to think clearly. And we start to have hormones that go through our body, and it uses a lot of energy. And then on the other side, that parasympathetic nervous system is that relaxation response. So that's what calms us down, prepares us to rest, to think, and to restore. So with that system, that's what's responsible for allowing our heart to beat in a slow rhythmic pattern, having our breath be full and slow, pupils of our eyes shrinking, helps us digest the food that we eat, increases the blood flow to these important parts of our body, and also allows hormones to rush in that can lift our mood and help us relax, and it conserves our energy. So what happens to these systems when we experience stress or trauma? So with that sympathetic nervous system that was on the right side that we just went over, this system is kicking in with the help of adrenaline and cortisol, some other hormones, as well as our fast heartbeat, rapid breathing. So during extreme stress like trauma, the system is essentially like turned on more than normal, and we might experience symptoms including anxiety or panic attacks because of this system being turned on so much. And then after experiencing trauma, especially repeated trauma or continuing having these continued traumatic experiences, the system can have difficulty returning back to that normal where it's able to balance out with the parasympathetic nervous system, right? Which is kind of like our normal state, is that those two systems can work together and regulate everything. But after experiencing a lot of trauma, that system has a really difficult time going back to normal. And so those hormones, like that adrenaline and cortisol, can stay elevated, and that's when we might have that frequent feeling of being in a state of fight, flight, or freeze, or we're frequently feeling anxiety because we're not having that parasympathetic response to come in and calm us down. And it's important to point out too, right, that this isn't bad that we have this system. The system in itself, it isn't a bad thing. It's really helpful for our bodies, right? That system's ability to kick in with the fast heart rate and the rapid breathing and to go into fight, flight, or freeze is often what keeps us safe in situations that might be dangerous or where there might be a threat. It allows our bodies to really focus in and use energy for what can help us stay safe in that moment. So in short, it really does keep us safe. It's just when it hasn't been able to go back to this calm state when we aren't in danger that it becomes something that can cause us problems. So how does deep breathing help? So deep breathing essentially activates that parasympathetic nervous system. So when we begin to do deep breathing, it starts to decrease our heart rate and increase our blood flow to and from our heart and brain. It moves the body out of that fight, flight, or freeze mode to the relax mode. It lets our bodies know that we're not in danger right now. So when we are in a situation where we are safe, we can be able to feel how we would want to feel in that moment, right? Be able to respond appropriately to what the situation is. And then oxygen also begins to flow more through our body, and hormones are released that aid in us feeling calm and relaxed. So that deep breathing gets all of those different pieces of the parasympathetic nervous system moving and can help our bodies recognize that we're okay right now. Thinking about like trauma triggers, for example, which would be something that reminds us of the trauma we've experienced, whether that is a memory, a place, a thing, a smell, something else. This can be very helpful in responding to those, because when we have that trauma trigger, we might start to feel that anxiousness, panickiness, or we go into the fight, flight, or freeze mode. But we may be experiencing a trauma trigger when there isn't a real danger or we're now somewhere safe. And so if we can begin to deep breathe, we can activate our parasympathetic nervous system and remember that we're okay right now in the present, we're safe. Another piece to point out, and I'm going to move this a little so I can read this quote. This is from an article from npr.org that talks about the importance of breathing as a stress reliever. And it highlights the vagus nerve, right? So we've been talking about these systems in our body, right? And our nerves are a big part of this system. So it points out here that the relaxation response is controlled by another set of nerves, the main nerve being the vagus nerve. Think of a car throttling down the highway at 120 miles an hour. That's the stress response, and the vagus nerve is the brake. When you're stressed, you have your foot on the gas, pedal to the floor. When you take slow, deep breaths, that is what is engaging the brake. So as we are taking those slow, deep breaths, we're able to kind of slow down our bodies and have all of those systems be able to help us and to help us feel better and feel less anxious or panicked. So in summary, just wanted to again point out a few things here of that we often breathe in short, shallow breaths. Maybe think back to as we started this webinar, it might have felt different to take that breath in and out because we do often just have this like automatic kind of shorter, shallow breathing. And that rapid breathing is controlled by the sympathetic nervous system. That's part of the fight or flight response, that part that's activated by stress. So the slow, deep breathing, it can help us calm down. And also it can help us cope with the stress from traumatic events. So symptoms like anxiety, panic, or maybe feeling stuck in alarm mode or on edge often respond when we breathe deeply. And we know there's a lot of other really great benefits to deep breathing, right? It can not only decrease our stress levels or our feelings of anxiety, but it can also improve our health. It can allow us to be more calm. It can have a lot of other benefits. We hope that this will be something that maybe as you're doing deep breathing, you can be thinking back to all of the things going on in your body. And Victoria, I wanted to ask if you had anything that you'd like to add.
This was really great information, Noelle, and I think really helps us understand why deep breathing is so important. I just really wanted to highlight what you said too, that this nervous system is a very natural response and like something that's good that our bodies do when there is a threat or a danger present. We want that sympathetic nervous system to get activated and to help us survive through that crisis moment. That's what helps us, get through that dangerous situation. It does become overactivated and kind of hypersensitive after experiencing several traumatic events. And so that's why after experiencing trauma and when you are in a safe place, when it's not necessarily a life or death dangerous situation, doing something like the deep breathing can help balance that system so you're not feeling so panicky and so feeling on edge at that moment.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. So we are now going to be able to practice some deep breathing. Victoria is going to lead us in that. And I'll go to the next slide, which just has something relaxing to look at, and I'll turn it over to you, Victoria.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to be teaching you a couple of different techniques to practice breathing and also lead you through a short kind of guided breathing exercise. I think sometimes it can be hard to really sit down and tell yourself, okay, I'm going to do deep breathing. That can feel really hard in the moment. And so I have a couple of techniques that you can use that might help it feel a little bit more focused or a little bit more natural. So this first exercise is called, well, I call it balloon breathing. So this is when you're going to imagine that you have a balloon inside your stomach, which inflates when you inhale and deflates when you exhale. So we can practice that together. If you want to close your eyes, you can if you're comfortable doing that. And as you close your eyes and breathe, imagine that you have that balloon inside your stomach, which inflates when you inhale and deflates when you exhale. So breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. Do that again. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. You'll find that when we do teach deep breathing, we often encourage you to breathe in through your nose and then to breathe out through your mouth, just as another way to engage that parasympathetic nervous system fully and completely. So that's one technique you can do as you're practicing deep breathing at home. Imagine that balloon in your stomach and imagine it inflating and deflating as you inhale and exhale. Another example of a breathing technique is called the concentration exercise. So as you're breathing naturally and trying to breathe slowly, during this you're going to mentally repeat to yourself, I know I am inhaling, I know I am exhaling. So we can practice that together. Again, you can close your eyes if you want to. Each time you inhale, mentally repeat, I know I am inhaling. And when you exhale, repeat, I know I am exhaling. Mentally repeat those statements each time you inhale and exhale. Good. So that's the concentration exercise. And that's, again, another tool that you can use as you are practicing deep breathing. You could do either one of these if you were at work, sitting at your desk and just needed a second to do some breathing if you were feeling really stressed, or even, if you were in the car or something like that. If you were, sitting at the table with your kids and you were feeling anxious, doing some of those breathing exercises, that's something that's nobody around you is going to know that you're imagining that balloon or that you're mentally repeating that to yourself. That's something that's internal just for you, but it's still going to help you be able to help calm your body and to help engage that parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so now I'm going to guide you all through a guided breathing exercise. And so this one is just going to help us, engage that breathing again. This exercise is going to encourage you to hold the breath too after you inhale, as a way to also just engage that really full, deep breath even more fully. So if you want to sit comfortably, you can do this laying down if you want to, or sitting in a comfortable position. And if you want to close your eyes during this practice, you may do that as well. Go ahead and take a deep breath and place your feet flat on the floor. Really feel your feet in contact with the ground underneath you. And now place your hands on your stomach and take 2 or 3 deep breaths. Notice your stomach rising and falling with each in and out breath. Good. And now, as you keep breathing deeply into your stomach, try and slow your breath down. If you can, try and breathe in for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then hold your breath for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then breathe out slowly for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep breathing in for 5, hold for 5, and out for 5. Notice what your breathing feels like as you breathe in and hold and breathe out. Go ahead and take one more big, deep breath. Good. And now I want you to go back to your normal breathing and slowly bring your attention back to the room, noticing the sounds around you, and begin to open your eyes again. Good. Maybe take a stretch after that. Hopefully you're feeling really relaxed and really calm in your body. Again, this is something that you can do on your own at home. Try to take those long, deep breaths and hold it if you can. If 5 is too long, maybe try starting off at like a 3 count. Breathe in for 3, hold for 3, and breathe out for 3. Or maybe you can breathe out longer. And so maybe you breathe in for 3, hold for 3, and then breathe out for 5. You can figure out what feels good for you and what feels the most calming for you. And also, the more that you practice these deep breathing exercises, the more you're going to be able to slow that breath down even longer and be able to hold that breath a little bit more too. So keep practicing these exercises. Like Noelle said, this video is going to be up on YouTube again later, so you can always go back and replay this video and go back and play this exercise too. But this is, a tool that you can use on your own, and we hope that the breathing was really helpful, really calming, and something that you can take with you throughout your week and throughout your days. Thank you so much for watching today. Our contact information is here. Again, if you have any questions or need to talk about something in your situation or want to discuss more about the topics that we discussed today, please feel free to reach out to Noelle or myself.
Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.